gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Cards That Diecast 4 channel, here with a bonus episode of the Jordan vs. Flair series, which was recently concluded with the 1986 showcasing with all the PSA 8 cards, the complete set there. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to be doing a PSA return video. These are 15 cards. I exercised my free 15 card grade that you get when you join the gold version of the PSA club. And these are the 15 cards I decided to send in. They're all from the 1988 year. I chose those because they had the best rate of return should the grades be very good. Couple of bad things, I guess I could say. There's not a whole lot, but there are a couple bad things. The first bad thing was that out of the 15 cards, 4 cards did come back with what I consider to be novice grades. And novice grades in my book are 7.5 and below. Because once you go below an 8, in my view, that's when you really start, in some instances, not all, of course, you know, if you had like a Mickey Mantle card that was a 7, that's actually a pretty good deal there. But beyond that, though, when you start going, especially into more modern era cards, you go 7 and below, you're starting to lose value in the card. It's almost better just to crack the card open, try to sell it raw. And then also at the same time, just to get it out of the way, there were no Gem Mint 10s, unfortunately. That's one thing. That's one thing that we was trying to get. Unfortunately, none of them came back PSA 10. But with that said, the good is that first off, no cards came back to me ungraded. Every card here is graded, and not only that, there were no qualifiers. So every card here has a solid number card. It is not a 9 OC or ST or any other qualifier. There are none. And as I said, since there was 4 cards that had novice grades, that means 11 cards had between a 9 and an 8. Okay then, so now that we have the bad and the good out of the way, let's just go ahead and crack this sucker open. First off, we're going to go ahead and open this so that you guys could see how it is to open a box from PSA. Oh, we do have some sort of knife with me. I don't want to cut into the cards or take risk cutting into the cards. Alright, now that it took forever to get this sucker open from the top, there you see there the paperwork along with the 15 cards. So let's go ahead and slowly get these 15 cards out. And just quickly here, just in case you want to know what's inside, apparently this is what they give you as well, some sort of a giant advertisement saying that they will pay for your cards. Here's some more advertisements. These are all from third-party individuals. I don't believe this is from PSA themselves. Yeah, another third-party advertisement to ask you to co-sign, or consign rather, for your consignment, and have them sell your goods for you, golden auctions. And then the original paperwork that came with the shipment. So what I'm going to do here, go ahead, set all this junk aside, is that I have these PSA size, graded size. Where are they from? They are from They are from CollectSaveProtect.com. I guess I bought these off of eBay. These are fitted PSA sleeves, meaning that these are the kind that when you put, these are specifically designed for PSA graded cards so that it doesn't have a lot of wiggle room like you could do with perhaps some universal sized ones that are both for PSA and for Beckett. So I'm going to go ahead and sleeve all these graded cards up, and then I'm going to start organizing them from the lowest grade down to the highest grade, so we could kind of give a little bit of suspense. And then afterwards, especially with the Jordan base, the number 17 from the 1988 Flair, I have the whole rainbow coalition of numbers. We'll go ahead and investigate and see what gave each card a grade, so on and so forth. So let me go ahead and do that, and we'll be right back. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have gone through and I have inspected each card. What you want to do whenever you get your cards back from PSA, you don't want to hesitate. Even if you want to try to make a video for YouTube or anything else like that, you do need, as soon as you get it, as soon as you get your box, I believe you have 48 business hours or 48 business hours or 2 business days to notify PSA that one of your cases were cracked or that you're missing a card or whatever it may be. So when you get your cards back from PSA, you don't want to hesitate. You want to go through them, and even if it spoils the surprise for you, you do want to make sure that everything is intact, so on and so forth, because you don't want to leave the cards in the box past those 48 hours. Then lo and behold, like half of them are all cracked open, or you're missing a card and whatnot. So make sure you get those things out. But nonetheless, though, I have organized all these cards from the worst grade up in front to the best card I consider the best card in the back. So let's go ahead and expose these grades, and then we'll investigate further, try to figure out why each card had a specific grade. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for us to do the countdown. So let's go ahead and grab the worst graded card. And now that I look at it, now that's in my hand and I see the grade, I can see why it got the grade that it did. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't get any sort of a qualifier with it. Michael Jordan, base card. Oh, let me zoom out here. Base card. And it got the grade of a 6. It got the grade of a 6, and the reason why should be pretty obvious. You could see how much distance you see right here on top. You see how much white, and then you just see how little we have down here. Let's go ahead and take a zoom, and there you could see just how little distance there was in the bottom. I'm surprised I didn't notice that at the beginning. And then you can see how much clearance there is on the top. So that's what gave this card the bad grade that it did. Let's flip it around, and likewise you could see how small the white is over here versus on top. So that is a PSA 6 for the 1988 Jordan. Next card in line is going to be a Scottie Pippen rookie card, and it's going to be a 7. And likewise, we have the problem in reverse. We have a lot of, or not a whole lot of clearance up here on the top, but then we have a lot on the bottom. So what's killing me with these grades here, with the novice grades, is the fact that there's so much, the cut was just so bad that there was just too much too much misclearance, if you will. They cut it too high here on this deal, too low, whatever it may be. But this is a PSA 7 example of a Scottie Pippen rookie card. Flip it around and it's the same deal, although in fact there's a little bit more clearance in the back than there is with the bottom, or with the front rather. So this whole card here is a little bit screwy, but nonetheless it is a near mint 7, novice grade in my book. But the next card, like this first one, is also a PSA 7 for Scottie Pippen. Same deal. A lot of clearance here on the bottom, not too much here on the top. That really is what killed it. Then we flip it around and it's the same deal, where it's a little bit fatter though on the top, but nonetheless still very clean card, but PSA 7 nonetheless. And then our final novice score is back to Michael Jordan, and it is a PSA 7 for this one. And much like the cards we've been noticing, is that it's just too much clearance on the top, not enough on the bottom, or vice versa. The centering seems to be left to right, seems to be relatively good, but top to bottom is just not there. And as you can see, a lot of space here on top, not a lot on the bottom. PSA 7 for Michael Jordan, and those are our 4 novice scores. So let's go ahead now and go into PSA 8 territory. And we have the Michael Jordan base card once again, but this time it is a PSA 8, and I think what made this a little bit better of a grade is the simple fact that there's a little bit more space now. We're starting to get a little bit better centering with the card, but still not too much. Doesn't look all that much better than a PSA 7, but I think when you look at the back looks very well centered. Still a little bit more fatness up here than on the bottom, but it's a little bit better centered on the back. The front has a little bit room to move, but it is getting better. And this is an improvement from the 7 and the 6. And there we have a PSA 8. Same thing again, PSA 8 for the Jordan base, number 17. Here's another example of a PSA 8. Just flip it around again, much like what we had with the other situation. A little bit better centering on the back. The front had a little bit more to leave there. And then we have my first disappointment, because I would have loved to have seen all these be 9s. Here's a PSA 8 for the Jordan sticker. Had this been a PSA 10, this would have been a $23,000 card. So this is why I sent these cards in. And I think what killed it had to have been a centering issue somewhere, whether it be from left to right, or if there's too much space here up top with that bluish color that you see. I'm not too sure. Flip it around. Still looks very clean though. We do have a little bit of an imprint right there, you see, with that white dot. So maybe that kind of brought the value down as well. But still a very clean looking card. I've seen a lot worse. PSA 8 for the Jordan sticker. Likewise, we have the same deal. Here's another 8 for the second of 3 Jordan stickers. Another PSA 8 there. Trying to figure out what exactly gave it the 8. Must be a centering issue. We got another imprint right there. Maybe that's what's killing it right there. You see it almost in the exact same spot, another imprint. Maybe PSA 10s don't have that. Still, nonetheless, though, maybe a little bit of a, got a little bit of a chewing effect right there in the corner. A little bit of a chewing effect there at the edge there. Likewise, a little bit right there. So with each corner, it seemed like there was a little bit of chewing, but not too much. Still a very clean looking card, nonetheless. Very proud to own it. There's a PSA 8. Alright then, and let's go ahead and whip out the last PSA 8 grade that we have. And it is the All-Star base card. This is the base version of the All-Star inserts that they gave you in the 88 Flair set. And it got a PSA 8. This is the only card like this that I turned in. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit and just slowly go up. I think there's a little bit more fatness on what would probably be your right side, and then the left side of you would be a little bit thinner here. So a little bit fatter, the off-center left and right. It's a little bit off-center there. And then also when you see the blackness areas here, you could definitely see the chewing, if you will. I call it the chewing effect, where it looks a little graded, it looks a little miscut, if you will. It shows up a lot more. You could definitely see it a lot more over here on this side. And I think that had a lot to do with the bad grade that it got. Or not bad grade, suitable grade. But of course you always want those Gem 10s, but those things are hard to get. And as we take a look at the back looks pretty clean, but once again I think it's a little bit more of a just a little bit off center. And that'll do that for the Jordan All-Star base card. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are now entering Mint 9 territory. From here on out, we have nothing but Mint 9s, and so I will go ahead and take that, considering how I have all these cards here are damn near 30 years old. I will go ahead and take that. I turned in 6 Scottie Pippen rookie cards. 6 of them, 2 of them, of course, were those 2 7s that you saw, and the rest from here on out are 9. So I got 4 Mint 9 Scottie Pippen rookie cards, so I will go ahead and take that. And pretty much what hurt this deal, of course, not too much gap here on the bottom versus on top, so there's a little bit of off-centering from top to bottom. And I also think as we zoom in here, it's not really apparent here on the what would be your right side, or left side rather. This would be not too much chewing effect here on the left side, and over here you can see a little bit more of it right there. You can see some chewing effect there, which is common when you have black background cards. You can see that a lot more than what you would with the white. So once again, off-centering issue from top to bottom, and a little bit of chewing effect on the what would be your right side. And then we flip it to the back, and you can see that big gap right there at the top, not too much on the bottom. So pretty good deal right there for a Mint 9. Likewise, let's go to another version of a Mint 9. This time the top to bottom is still the issue. A little bit fat on the bottom, not too much on the top. And so that's probably what killed it right there. Let's go down a little bit. Chewing effect isn't as apparent as it was with the last card. Slight signs of it here on the sides, which I think actually would be acceptable. There is some chewing stains even on a Gem Mint 10, but it's just the centering here, not too much on the top, a lot on the bottom is what killed this card from a 10. And then on the back you could see from left to right the centering issue is much more apparent with that situation. And there's a looks like it'd be a little bit of an misprint or imprint right there on the back. Our next 9 for the Scottie Pippen rookie card, as we zoom in a little bit more. Once again, the issue here is just centering. A lot of centering issues, which is what you'll get with a lot of those older cards. Not too much here on the bottom, not enough on the top. And then left to right seems to be relatively okay. So we zoom in here, there you see the grade. But once again, it's just not a whole lot of chewing effect. All you see a little bit of it, which is acceptable though. Even Gem Mint 10s have some chewing effect, but really it's probably going to come down to the centering being the big issue. And on the back, we see that it's starting to get a little bit better, still a little bit left to right, and still top to bottom a little bit. It also has that printing imperfection there, so that probably hurt that there. And then our last Pippen rookie with the PSA 9 grade. So we look at that, we go ahead and take a look at it once again. The centering starting to get a little bit better, but still just a little too much fatness on one side. This case it's left or top to bottom. I don't know, I think that might be a little bit of a printing defect right there. They look at everything. It's not just 4 sharp corners. And then with the bottom, a little bit of a printing imperfection right there, and just not enough fatness on the bottom. It's just too off center. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and here are our 2 last cards, and they're both Jordans. And I was able to get one of them to come back a good grade. Here's a Mint 9 Jordan base from the 1988 set. So let's go ahead and take a look, zoom in here. And as you can see, the centering is a lot better compared with a lot of the other cards. Still a little bit too much, and I think in this instance it might actually be from left to right. The centering issue is a little bit too much over here versus the other side. But really, one thing I did notice, if we could zoom in just a little bit more, you can see this chewing effect right there has a really noticeable deal right there. Very smooth, very clean on this side, but not, you can see that that chew mark right there. Centering is a little bit better, but it's just a little too much or a little too little over here and a little too much over there. I think that centering top to bottom, left to right is leaving just a little too much for the graders to ignore, not to ignore rather. And as we take a look at the back, it's still a very clean back, but just that top to bottom centering is just, it's too much. That's what killed it. And if you remember the Jordan Nightmare Pack card, I really think sometimes that probably would have been a 9 right there. I think that card would have been a 9 had it not had that big piece of gum stuck there. So now that I look back at it, I'm a little bit pissed off. I still want to get that card graded actually, but I don't even know if it will get a 1. But nonetheless though, that is the, here's the PSA 9 one more time for the Jordan. We'll go back and take a look at the difference between a 6 and a 9, a 7 and a 9, and an 8 and a 9. If you're considering getting your Jordan 88 card graded. And then finally, the card that really made me sad, just a heartbeat away from a Gem Mint 10, and that is the last Jordan sticker. I got a Mint 9. Had this been a Gem Mint 10, I would have been about $23,000 richer. So I just missed Gem Mint or Gem Mint 10, but I did get a Mint 9. This card in itself, unfortunately, it's a pretty big drop because this has, I think, a population as of this video about 173. I think this is a $500 card pretty much. If you sell it on eBay, $525 if you push it. Really, to be honest, it's more like a $425 card. That's what you'll safely get if you let people just auction on it. You might be able to get $525 if you force somebody to buy it now at that price. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back. And what you'll notice is a lot of chewing marks, which the Gem Mint 10s also have these chewing marks on the back as well. But I don't know, or centering issue, you could tell a little bit more thickness from what would be your left side, I believe, versus the right. Left to right centering is just a little bit off. And then there's that printing defect again. I don't know if that's with every card or if the Gem 10s don't have that. I think that might be what killed this. And of course a little bit more chewing. And then we take a look at the back, or the front rather. The front looks very clean though. But once again, you could kind of tell the left to right centering is just a tick off. But nonetheless, though, that is a pretty good card. Nonetheless, I will keep that. In fact, I probably will keep this card and I'll sell the other two. But those are my grades. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 6 to 9, 7 to 9, and 8 to 9 with the Jordan bases. Alrighty then, now that we have the help of Mr. Jimmy Johnson to hold these two cards, can you tell which card is the PSA 6 and which card is the PSA 9? Well, it should be pretty apparent. The card that is what would probably be on your left is the 6, and the 9 is what is on your right. And right off the bat, you could tell that the centering issue is a big deal. If you happen to have a card where you could barely see the white on the bottom of the card, if it's your only card and you're trying to get the best card possible, it may not necessarily be the best deal to go ahead and get that graded. However, if you have a card that's a lot better centered, that is something that you might be able to get yourself a 9 like I did, or who knows, you might be able to get a Gem 10. But nonetheless, what we see here, because both cards, the cardboard itself and the cut is very clean. Both cards are very clean. So the cleanliness of the sharp corners and the surface area not being filled with marks or anything else like that obviously could still get you a very bad grade if the cut is very bad. And that appears to be what killed this this PSA 6. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back. And try to get a look at the back and see the apparent differences from the back. And what you see is much like what you saw with the front. The centering issue is a very big deal when they grade. The quality of the card itself was good. Does look like, if you could see right there, you may not be able to, you see a little white dot there. It's also present on this one. I don't know if a Gem 10 would have those white dots absent. What else you're looking for? You're also looking for the edges there looking clean. Both cards have clean edges, but this one here seems to be just purely a centering issue in my book. I might be wrong. There might be something even more apparent. If you see anything, leave it in the comments below. I'm not a professional grader, but in this case it looks like the centering is what killed this 6 card over here. Despite the fact that it had a very good surface, it matches the surface of the 9 over here. Of course, I picked these cards pack fresh, so the only thing that could have affected it would have been the gum content, which we saw with the Nightmare Pack Jordan card there, which destroyed that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what a 7 is compared to a 9. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and take a look now. As you can see, the 7 on your left and the 9 is on your right. Once again, it's a centering issue. Don't turn in cards with the expectation you're going to get a good grade, even if the quality, 4 sharp corners, smooth surface, no sort of gum residue or stains or anything else. It's a centering issue. A lot of thin space up here or down here on the bottom. Up top, a lot more thick space. The centering with the 9 is a lot better. In this case, however, maybe you see a little bit more of the chewing effect on the sides, although you don't see a whole lot either with that. So really what killed these cards here for me was the centering. This happened to be the best card out that was centered out. And let's go ahead and flip it over. Take a look at the back, see how the back looks like. Because we're probably just going to reaffirm what we saw with the front. A lot of small space down here, a lot on the top. Versus the 9, which is a lot better centered. The center could have used maybe a little bit less on the top, a little more on the bottom, maybe a little bit left to center, because they put some sort of a scale on the card, and the tolerance is 55-45, I believe. So if it's outside of that boundary, you're not going to get a Gem Mint 10, even if the quality of the cardboard and everything else is Gem Mint 10. It's not going to get one if the centering is not good. All right, then finally what we have here is the PSA 8 on the left side versus the 9. And it's just, once again, in my view, just another centering issue, because the quality of each card is the same. Very smooth, no surface errors, no anything else like that. Just once again, it's going to be down to the centering. How well is the picture of the card centered into the deal? And then of course, you know, the other small things that you see, if there's any chewing on the sides that's very apparent, that might be something that's going to cause it to not get as good of a grade. The centering is starting to improve a little bit. Still a lot of thickness on the bottom versus the top. With the 8, it's a little bit better, well-rounded, centered on the 9. And finally, we do the old flip around. And it does look like, however, no, it actually looks a little absent on this one. There's some sort of a white printing dot that you see there, but it seems to be absent here with the PSA 8 that I have right here. I seem to have that with the other PSA 6 and 7, but it's absent here with this card. Just once again, just a centering issue. It's a very well better, not the best centering, of course, because it's not a 10, but it's a lot better centered with the 9 than it is with the 8. Looks like a little bit left to right is a little bit thicker on this side right here versus the other side here. And so that's pretty much the only thing that's going to do it. So let's go ahead and examine real quick the difference between an 8 and a 9 sticker Jordan. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can you identify which one is which is the 8 and which is the 9? Because as of looking at this little screen that I have from my camera, I can't really tell. They both virtually look exactly the same. However, if you're wanting to know, this card here is the 9, this here is the 8. And so when I look at it just from the screen alone, it looks like there's a little bit more thickness here. Just a tick more, do you think, here with the top versus the top on here with that blue line that's on the top? Maybe there's supposed to be a little bit more here. What do you think? Because I'm trying to look at this, I'm not really seeing a whole lot. The only thing I could tell you is that when we zoom here with the 9, the corners are very clean. When you look at the corners there, they do look clean from the front, versus when we look on the 8. Gotta zoom in a little bit more. With the 8, you could kind of see that kick out. You see that little kick out right there with that corner? But still very smooth corners. It's just that the centering, I think you could tell right here with the 8, it's a little bit thicker over here than it is on the other side. Left to right centering is a little bit bad. And I think it's gently corrected a little bit more with the 9. Left to right centering is a little bit better. So let's go ahead and flip these around real quick, because I think this is where you'll see a difference. Here is the 9, and as you can see, there's some chewing effect there on top, but even the Gem Mint 10s have some chewing effect, because these cards were never cut perfect. But I think there's a little bit of a off-centering here that killed this card. You can see it's a lot shorter here on this side than it is on the other side, although that could be by design. Now that I look at it, because this red here is a little bit thicker, maybe that's making that look like that. And then the chewing effect, once again, that little imprint that you see there, sorry about that, that little dot imprint that you see there is apparent, and that has some chewing, but that's the 9. Let's look over here on the 8, and this is where I think the separation occurs. You can see right there the chewing effect is heavy on that side, also a little bit of a kick on that corner on that side. The printing defect right there. Centering seems to be a little bit more off-centered. You could tell, thicker on this side, thinner on that side. And then some more chewing on the corners for that PSA 8 versus when we see there, we don't see as much. Over here we see it's a little bit more pronounced. Going down one more time, you can see the chewing effect on that side there, a little bit kick out there with the edge there versus the 9 that does not have as much of a chewing effect or kick out. So just those minute differences, I believe, is what created the difference between the 8 and the 9 with the Jordan sticker. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and wrap that up, because as I said, I'm not too much of a grader, but hopefully I gave you some priceless information that could help you be a better decision maker when it comes to what type of cards you decide to go ahead and get graded. So this has been the Cards of Diecast 4 channel with the bonus addition to the Jordan vs. Flair series. I want to thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe. Please subscribe if you've been liking my videos. Don't be a leech, if you will. Help me out, because I am trying to get to 100 likes. But as I said, this is the Cards of Diecast 4 channel. I want to thank you all for watching in this bonus edition of Jordan vs. Flair PSA returns.